Greetings folks, this is Wrongwise Gamgee, and welcome to Quick and Dirty Roleplaying. In this video, I'll debunk the myth that only tabletop roleplaying games like D&D are viable for long-term play that is thrown around by particularly vocal OSR and or D&D exclusive diehards, and that other games, such as those that are powered by the apocalypse, are not suitable for long-term play. The reasons that are cited for D&D and OSR games being the only ones viable for long-term play and campaigns typically have to do with either their zero to hero to demigod leveling process, or for more grounded games from adventurer to conqueror to king, just like the aptly named Game by Alexander Macris, as well as the ever-increasing scope of what the party is meant to deal with throughout the course of their adventuring careers, their premature deaths notwithstanding. First, let's address the leveling process argument. Depending on the type of D&D-ish game that the group is playing, characters can either max out at 10th level, typically for more grounded campaign settings, or can max out at 30th level if they're playing D&D 4th edition, which is a perfectly acceptable edition of the game, contrary to popular opinion. Typically, however, characters max out at 20th level when they reach the most complete version of their character build, and every level below it, especially the earlier levels, represent an embryonic version of characters, if taken from the point of view of a power gamer. The idea is that every level not only bumps up some sort of number, hit points, ability scores, proficiency bonus, or just every d20 roll in general, if you're playing Pathfinder 2nd edition or D&D 4th edition, but that characters will be more versatile as they gain new abilities that will either grant them wider access to in-game activities or maximize the potency of their classes or build's main theme. For games that go from 1st to 20th level, this will ideally happen 19 times, though in reality it happens anywhere between 6 and 10 times, since groups typically stop playing their campaign after 10th level. Even with such infrequent level ups, the players still get their dopamine hits from character empowerment in the form of magic items, though again, this frequency can vary based on the nature of the campaign and the stinginess of the GM. So, given that leveling up is infrequent and magical item acquisition seems to also be infrequent in order to retain that specialness, how is this any different from character growth in a non-D&D-ish system like those that are powered by the apocalypse, or something more similar along the way that they're designed, such as Savage Worlds or Cypher System? Part of the argument seems to be that because a character's path to peak power typically happens over 20 distinct phases, levels 1 to 20, and that because the experience points required to level up increases as the character level goes up, it takes more and more sessions for characters to level up, and more sessions means a longer campaign. If a GM sticks to encounter guidelines provided by the DMG, this may be the case. However, many a group use the milestone system to level up, not experience points, which eliminates the occurrence of players calculating which monsters to go out and kill in order to min-max their survival to growth ratio. Furthermore, these longer gaps of not leveling up means that there are less instances of the dopamine hit from leveling up. That might actually contribute to maintaining the potency of these dopamine hits, as opposed to making them less potent through frequent advances, though magical item acquisition might simply be the other method of maintaining engagement through external rewards. In any case, the point I'm trying to make here is that leveling frequency is ultimately arbitrary, and leveling guidelines are often ignored, especially to get players from the highly vulnerable and least interesting 1st and 2nd levels onto 3rd levels, the true start of the character's adventuring career if you're playing D&D 5th edition. Another point that will be made will be that of granularity in the numbers, and that because D&D systems are more granular due to using the D20 and dealing with modifiers of 5% increments, such granularity allows for more fine-tuned character improvement than the systems that are less granular, where each plus one is a very significant jump in potency, and because of that, capping out in power happens much sooner. To me, this point of view is truncated. It assumes that the only way to demonstrate potency is by throwing bigger and bigger numbers around, and sets task difficulty on a singular objective scale rather than of scales relative to the character's power. This is effectively the power methodology of D&D 3rd edition, 4th edition, Pathfinder 1st edition, and 2nd edition. Although D&D 5th edition has attempted to curb this somewhat with their concept of bounded accuracy, and by reducing the target number of impossible tasks from 40, as it was in D&D 3rd edition and 4th edition, down to 30. This actually just has the effect of making randomness and more relevant throughout the character's career. For some games that take a Powered by the Apocalypse approach, such as Hearts of Wulin, Avatar Legends, and my Quick and Dirty RPG system, they have different game mechanics when dealing with tasks that are out of their league or not in their wheelhouse, as opposed to tasks that are risky but possible to overcome, or that are within their wheelhouse. With both Hearts of Wulin and Quick and Dirty, the mechanic goes like this. When you're out of your league, roll not to see whether or not you succeed, but to see how badly you lose. In Avatar Legends, the mechanic is called Push Your Luck, which has more dire consequences on a less than best roll than the mechanic called Rely on Your Skills and Training. The context of the situation dictates which mechanic is used. This is the way these games deal with the issue of lack of granularity in their numbers. Now let's address the implied point that the only types of games viable for long-term campaigns are the Zero to Hero to Demigod or Adventure to Conquer to King. As I addressed earlier, campaigns rarely go from 1st to 20th level, especially nowadays, which makes this supposed journey sold to folks a propaganda piece. Moreover, the more grounded OSR style games will see character death happen much more often than in D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition, so the party will see its roster change over time, more often than the more modern D&D games. Even if a total party kill occurs, the campaign can still continue, incorporating the consequences of the TPK into the ongoing narrative. To this, I would like to address one of the talking points from my video titled Questing Beast Interview. Ben Milton, aka Questing Beast, mentioned in that interview on how some OSR players called old school D&D a world-playing game, since long campaigns can see whole parties die off and get replaced, with the story of the world ending up as the long-term focus. This talking point demonstrates how truncated it is to see a campaign being only about the character party. It doesn't have to be like that, and many Powered by the Apocalypse games recognize this, as they explicitly have options regarding to character retirement and passing the torch onto a new character. It's also why character advancement in those games seems to mirror the 1 to 10 level paradigm of certain OSR or D&D-ish games, like Knave 2nd Edition or the high-powered 13th Age. Basing campaign longevity on chopping up mechanical rewards into guaranteed character advancement rewards, or regularly drip-fed power-ups until they reach the point of demigodhood, is not what makes campaigns long-lasting, in my opinion. If that were the case, then D&D 4th edition would have the longest lasting campaigns, since characters can go up to 30th level. Even then, point-buy games like GURPS or Hero would be even better candidates, since every part of the character is built on a point budget that characters can use to maximally customize their character build, and they can just get points indefinitely. I opine that campaigns last long when there is consistent and persistent player and GM investment into the overall ongoing narrative of the world, as well as the freedom to take the reins and explore how a character's or party's narrative unfolds. I believe that this phenomenon is largely system independent, or can be made system independent, despite the contrary opinion of certain OSR or D&D diehards. If you like or dislike anything in this video, please give it a like or dislike and leave a comment, keeping it respectful and relevant. Subscribe if you want to support my channel, and if you really want to support my endeavors, head over to my Patreon and become a member. The link is in the description. Until then, folks, take care and play to find out what happens.